Welcome back, everyone. This is Priyanka Mishra, and I am again here with the second part with my e tutorial of Chapter 10 Displacing Indigenous People. So, in the last tutorial, we have discussed that how did the people from Europe come to the North Indian continent and they were welcomed by the native people with friendly gesture. They also exchanged gifts and welcomed them a lot. Now, this tutorial will tell us the later part of the particular incident that happened in North America after coming of the Europeans. So the topic, as you can see, is mutual perception. Due to the coming of the Europeans, the new countries of Canada and United States of America came into existence at the end of the 18th century. At that time, they also occupied a fraction of land that was earlier covered by the native people, and now it was captured by the Europeans. Over the next 100 years, they extended their control over more territory to each reach their present size. Large areas were acquired by the USA by purchase. They brought land in the south from France and from Russia, and by war, much of southern USA was won from Mexico. The western frontier of USA was a shifting one, and as it moved, the native also were forced to move back. The landscape of America changed drastically in the 19th century. The Europeans treated the land differently from the natives. Some of the migrants from Britain and France were younger sons who would inherit their father property and therefore eager to land in America. Later, there were waves of migrants from countries like Germany, Sweden, and Italy who had lost their land to big farmers. So basically, all these situations and incidents tell us that the people from different countries of Europe were coming to North American land, and the native people of North America were now forced to move back from their own lands. After that, people from Poland were very happy to work in prairie grassland, that is actually the grassland found in North America. They cleared land and developed agricultural uh, tracts, introducing crops which could not grow in Europe and therefore could be sold there for profit. That means by every means, the European wanted to make more and more economic profit from the North American natural resources. To protect their huge farms from wild animals, wolves and mountain lion, these were hunted to extinction. They felt totally secure with the invention of barbed wire in 1873 for hunting of these wild animals. The climate of the southern region was too hot for Europeans to work outdoors, and the experience of Southern American colonies had shown that the native who had been enslaved had died in large number. Plantation owners therefore bought slaves in Africa. Protest by anti-slavery groups led to a ban on slavery system finally in 1930s. Here is a picture of a ranch in Colorado. Ranch basically means for an area full of grasslands and very important and necessary for the pasture of cattle rearing. What happened to all the policies of the Europeans was actually the losing of land by the native people. Here is a story, actually an example of a native tribe that will tell us how the Europeans forced the native people to move from their own lands. In the USA, as settlement expanded, the natives were induced or forced to move. After signing treaties selling their land, the prices paid were actually very low, and there were instances when the Americans cheated them by taking more land. Even high officials saw nothing wrong in depriving the native peoples of their land. In 1832, an important judgment was announced by the US Chief Justice John Marshall. He said that the Cherokees, who were a distinct tribal community of North America, were occupying their own territory in which laws of Georgia had no force, and that they had sovereignty in certain matters. US President Andrew Jackson had a reputation for fighting against the decision of the US Chief Justice. Finally, he refused the judgment of Chief Justice and ordered the US Army to evict the Cherokees from their land and drive them to the Great American Desert. Those who took the land occupied by the tribes justified it by saying that the natives did not deserve to occupy land which they did not use for the maximum. They went to criticize them for being lazy since they did not use their craft skill to produce goods for the market, for not being interested in learning English or dressing correctly. They deserved to die out, they argued. The prairies were cleared from farmland and wild bison killed off. Meanwhile, the natives were pushed westward, given land elsewhere, but often moved again if any mineral, lead, or gold or oil was found on their land, originally occupied by one tribes, thus leading quarrels between them. That means at first the people of North America were moved to the desert areas. But whenever the Europeans were needing the laborers for working in mines or for working in fields, they again were brought by them as the slaves. They were locked in small areas called reservation, which often was land with which they had earlier connection. They did not give in without a fight. The US Army finally crushed a series of rebellion from 1865 to 1890, but after that they gave up. Now we are having a new topic to deal with is the gold rush. And due to this gold rush, there was the growth of industries. Actually, what happened in 1840s, the traces of gold mines were found in California in USA. This led to the gold rush when thousands of eager Europeans hurried to America in the hope of making a quick fortune by owning that gold. This led to the building of railway lines across the continent, for which thousands of Chinese workers were recruited. The USA's railway was completed by 1870, that of Canada by 1885. That means this news of gold at least paved the way for making the railway tracks throughout the American continent. The old nation crept on at a snail pace, said Andrew Carnegie, a poor immigrant from Scotland who became one of the first millionaire industrialists in the USA. And this only happened due to the finding of gold mines in California. One reason why the Industrial Revolution happened in England when it did not was because small peasants were losing their land to big landowners and moving to jobs in factories. In North America also, due to the finding of gold mines, industries developed for very different reasons. To manufacture railway equipment so that rapid transport could link distant places, and to produce machinery which would make large scale farming easier. Industrial town grew and factories multiplied both in the USA and Canada. In 1860, it was the leading industrial power in the world. Large scale agriculture also expanded. By 1890s, the bison had almost been exterminated, thus ending the life of hunting the natives had followed for centuries. In 1892, the USA continental expansion was completed. The area between the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean was divided up into states. There was no longer remained frontier that had pulled European settlers west for many decades. Within a few years in the USA was setting up its own colonies in Hawaii and Philippines. It had based on imperial power. So USA, which was a newly emerging country in North America due to the coming of Europeans, was now having its own colonies. Here are some pictures of the ranches of prairie. We can also see in pictures the people of North America moving to California, as well as the people of Europe also moving to California as a part of gold rush. And at the right we are having the picture where the immigrants are welcomed in USA. Now there are some of the rights for which finally the native North Americans fought. The democratic spirit, which had been the rallying cry of the settlers in their fight for independence in the 1770s, came to define the identity of USA against the monarchies and aristocracies. The democratic rights of right to vote and the right to property were only for white men at the time. Daniel Paul, a Canadian native, pointed out in 2000 that Thomas Paine, the champions of democracy at the time of war for American independence and the French Revolution, used the Indian as model of how societies might be organized. He used this to argue that the Native Americans, by their examples, sowed the seeds for the long drawn out movements towards democracy by the people of Europe. So basically, these fight for democratic rights led to the basic rights of the native people of North America back. Now we can also see some winds of change. How finally the rights were given to the native people. In 1968, people were electrified by a lecture by the anthropologist W.E.H. Stanner, who entitled The Great Australian Silence, the silence of historians about the Aborigines. From 1970s, there was an eagerness to understand natives not as anthropological curiosities but as communities with distinct culture, unique ways of understanding nature and climate with a sense of community, which had vast bodies of stories, textiles and painting and carving skills which should be understood and respected. Means for basically these anthropologists were now fighting for the rights of the native people, not only as the anthropological societies or communities but also as an ethnic group with distinct culture. That means if they were the people with distinct culture, with the skill of observation of nature, they must have their rights in the land from where they belong to. Henry Reynolds, in his book Why Weren't We Told, condemned the practice of writing Australian history as thought it had begun with Captain Cook's discovery. About the Australian history, we'll talk in the next tutorials. So that's it for the North American history, and we understood through these tutorials how the people from American uh, continent were finally forced to move back from their country, and again in the 19th 70s, that means the later half of 20th centuries, they finally could get back their democratic and political rights in their own country. So that's it for the day. Thank you.